Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. So another month has gone by already. That went by super fast, right? So it is now beginning of August here in London. Lockdown is basically over. I've been back at work for a couple of weeks already, and we're kind of just, going back to normal as much as we can do, right? I'm still kind of catching up on all my lockdown makes over on the blog, so I'll be showing you what I have been doing in July today. So firstly, I'll just start talking about what I'm wearing at the moment. So this black dress is a Fibre Mood Mindy dress. So this is in their latest issue, their summer issue, and it's one of the dresses that's really been big from this issue. Like, I've seen a lot of people make it. It's got all the kind of on-trend things about it at the moment. So it's got this lovely kind of square neckline, this big puffed sleeve in it, and kind of a gathered skirt, and that's kind of all the things that everybody seems to want at the moment. I made mine a little bit differently in that, because I use this kind of sheer black fabric, it's what I call a cotton devoré. So it feels like a poly cotton fabric, and it's got this kind of burned out sections and a floral pattern through it. I say poly cotton because this kind of effect only works on a polyester fabric. I'm not sure the exact content of it. I got it in Walthamstow market many years ago, and I've been saving it for something special, and then this just seemed ideal. So the things that I changed with this dress for myself is that I fully lined the dress. So fully lined the bodice up to here, and I've put in a kind of mini skirt in underneath it because it is otherwise just completely see-through. It's really easy to do with this. I did hand finish it just because it made my life a little bit easier, but essentially this dress would normally have a facing that covers this section right here, and I basically just used the same bodice piece instead and just essentially did the same thing that the facing would do. So all quite a simple thing to do. I also added on an extra tier to the length of the dress as well. It's full on kind of gothy vibes from this, and I really love it. I'll stand up and give you a full look. So this is what that dress looks like in full length. As you can see, it's got this really big poofy sleeve here. I finished mine with a cuff instead of the elastic, which is what they recommended, just because I like that finish a bit better on me. It has a big puffy sleeve gathered all the way around here. It's got like an empire style bodice with darts on the front and a gathered skirt. Now the original skirt kind of stops around here somewhere, and I lengthened it slightly and then added another tier onto the end as well. The closure is actually a side zip down here, just a little side zip here. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of a side zip just because I find them harder to take on and off, not because there's anything inherently difficult about them or anything like that. I just find them more uncomfortable. I think if I did it again, I might move the side zip to the back, but who knows. But overall, it turned out pretty much how I expected it to, which is great. I did wonder whether I wanted like an extra tier or a longer bottom tier, and that's always something that's really hard to tell until you've got it on, but I'm not unhappy with what I've done at all. One thing I will say is that I know a lot of people, when they made this, the sleeve instruction is really weird. Like the construction and instructions, for that matter, are a bit odd, and it's very unusual. It's one of those things that if you do follow it kind of step by step according to the instructions, you will get there, but it is not as intuitive as I would have hoped, and it's something that even I spent a bit of time kind of puzzling over before I got it on, which sounds really big-headed, but I've put in a lot of sleeves, so I know how I normally get a sleeve in, if that makes sense. But yeah, it's giving me, it's very like kind of a gothy, boho-y thing going on here, which I kind of like. I don't have a lot of black dresses, so yeah, I just really loved it. So as I said, the outside is a poly cotton devoré. I think it's poly cotton, who knows, and I've used just a black cotton lawn on the inside as the lining. I'll move on to the next thing now. So this was one of my favourite things that I've made in lockdown. It's something really simple, but it gave me a lot of joy to make and to wear. So this is basically a loungewear set. It's a shorts and a hoodie. The hoodie is an oversized Stella hoodie, the Tilly and the Buttons pattern from the book Stretch. I just made it in the biggest size I had, and just so that I had this kind of oversized shape, and then I straightened out the side seams because that hoodie has a kind of a curve for the waist, and I just kind of straightened everything out so it's like kind of big and boxy. But I kept all the hood and everything else the same. The shorts is a pattern that I copied off my Hollister pair of shorts. This pair of shorts I got many years ago, which I've always loved. I like the fit of them on me, so I just thought I'll just trace them off and make another pair for myself, and that's where these shorts came in. Both are made with a cotton sweatshirting, although slightly different types. This top is a French cherry and the bottom is a brush-backed sweatshirting there. Now that's like the boring bit of this make. Actually making it didn't take more than a couple of hours because they're both things I knew how to make, so I didn't have to worry about those. And the fun came in the dyeing. So this was all plain white to start off with, and then I used an ice dyeing technique in order to do this. So towards the beginning of lockdown, I saw some people doing these really beautiful tie-dye jobs, and I was like, I really wanted to do it, really wanted to get hold of the dyes to do it myself. This was a great time to try out all these other things, but I really wanted to use RIT dyes, and they were very hard to get hold of. I basically couldn't find any in the colours that I wanted, so I was then looking at alternatives to that. And in my Google rabbit hole internet searching, I found the ice dyeing techniques. So what this does, it uses just regular powder dyes. So these are like your Dylon sachet dyes to dye your clothing. I don't know why it works like this, but it might be to do with the concentration of it, but you don't need to add salts or anything like that to it. I think obviously it will work best if you've got a natural fibre in your fabric, but otherwise it doesn't seem that there are too many constraints. But essentially what you need to do is you wet and bundle up your clothing, your fabric, put ice on top of that, and sprinkle dye in whatever pattern you want to over the top of that. So this was made using a pink, orange and yellow dye, just sprinkled in random spots over the ice. You leave it to melt. It was quite a warm day, it took a couple of hours to do that, and just let it all kind of melt and let the dyes kind of soak through. I left it for a few hours after the ice had melted away, and then I just stuck it in the wash again. This has been washed a few times since, and actually the dyes held up really well. I was really worried that it would just kind of wash off pretty fast, but actually it's done a pretty good job, and I'm so happy with how it came out. I think that, you know, it's one of those things that you can't be too controlled over. You need to be expecting the unexpected and be able to take whatever comes out of it as it comes. I hope that makes sense. Because there's no way I could predict like how the patterns would form on this. I think I was really lucky. I really like how they turned out. I like the shorts in particular. I don't know if you can see them well. I really like the dye pattern on those. But yeah, it's something that I really want to try again. I really want to make some like full-length jogging bottoms in the same with the same technique into the dyeing, but probably with different colours on there. So yeah, try it out. It's worth it. It's easy. It's pretty cheap to do. So it's definitely a worthwhile, fun experiment to do. I'll move on to the next thing. So you're getting two for the price of one with this outfit. These are two things that I've made. The top is the Adrian Blouse. So this is the one from Friday Pattern Company. It was really big when it came out. I remember seeing loads and loads of them everywhere. I was a bit kind of neither here nor there. I'm not a huge fan of really tight-fitted jersey tops on me anymore. I don't know why, I used to love them, I used to wear them all the time, but I really kind of fell out of love with them. But I thought, you know, I'll try one and see how I get on with it, and just because it's quite a nice thing to have in your wardrobe as kind of an alternative silhouette. So just a bit about the blouse. It's got these kind of giant puffed and gathered sleeves. It's gathered at the cuff and at the shoulder, and just a very fitted bodice. It's almost got like a raglan sleeve here, and then, as I said, these big gathers that you can see. The top is very, very simple. It's a really easy project to do. I probably used elastic that isn't quite strong enough in these sections, because I do feel like it slips a little. So that's just something to bear in mind. And also I find that the length of the sleeve is a bit odd on me. I didn't make any adjustments to it. So I would think if I made it again, I'd either make it shorter like this length or full length. Just going on to the fit, so it fits, it's fine. I didn't use jersey that I think was stretchy enough. It asked for 20% stretch jersey, which this just about has. This is a bamboo jersey that I got from Discovery Knitting. I always thought when a pattern company asks for like a certain amount of stretch, it's always best to go a little bit more than that. Everybody gauges stretch slightly differently. So like this, if you put it really firmly, then yeah, you get 20%, but is that going to be comfortable on you? If like you need a comfortable 20%, it's not really quite the same, if that makes sense. I think in something stretchier, especially with my around the bust area, that would have been a bit better. I'm also not hugely sure about this neckline on me. That's personal preference though. I've seen plenty of these blouses on women of all sizes and they look fantastic. So this is just, you know, me getting in my head rather than I think there's an actual problem with it, by the way. And the other thing that I'm showing you guys are these trousers. So these are the Pietro Pants from Closet Core Patterns, and they've had a recent rebranding and name change there. So this is a pattern that I bought at the beginning of lockdown. Same with this fabric, I bought them together from So Many Sunshine. In the attempt to start making clothes for work. I'd always told myself like not to bother, you know, whatever I wear at work is going to be really grubby by the end of the day. It's going to have to go through the wash like 1,000 times a week, you know, it's not worth it. But I had 4 months off. It made me feel like, you know, I've got all the time in the world to make these kind of things. So I went for it. And so this is the fabric is a stretch tencel twill. It's I think it's the MeetMilk one in blueberry. Really lovely fabric, by the way. It's got a really great weight to it and a great drape to it. It's expensive, but I feel like you get what you pay for in this. So I've made the Pietro Pants in the view with the tapered leg, and it's slightly cropped. I don't know if you can see that towards the ankle there, so it finishes just above the ankle. I quite like these pants, I like their construction. It's got these side panels with these deep pockets in here as well, and the best of all, the elasticated waistband back here. So basically I think I needed just something a bit stretchier, something a bit comfier for work, and I thought that this would be an ideal pattern. So I have not done any adjustments to the waist on these, and these are up just at or just up above mine where I would normally take a high-waisted pant to, which for me makes me feel like this pattern is very high-waisted, because I'm normally someone who has to adjust that length and to get it higher. I can imagine another person being like, this is coming up over their boobs, you know, it's going to feel like that anyway. There are times that even I feel like this is riding a bit high on me. I don't know if that's just the design though, and it's meant to be that high. I mean, it truly is a high-waisted pant if that's what you're looking for. I like the shape though. I'm not sure I would like this in the other views. So it comes as a short and as a wide leg as well. I very specifically bought it just for this one and for this use as this kind of work trouser. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna kind of use it in other ways. I did make 2 versions of it though. I probably won't try on the other one, but I'll show it to you anyway. So this is the exact same pant in this ponte knit. So this is a very firm ponte knit jersey that I got from Simply Fabrics. It's kind of dark charcoal grey with an olive green check on it. You can actually probably see more details on here as well that I can show you. So they fit exactly the same in that I did it exactly the same, used the same pattern, used the same sizing, didn't make any adjustments to it. The only difference was the fabric. In comparison, this is very heavy and thick compared to the tencel version. It still works, and it still works reasonably well. I do find the waistband and the back it feels quite thick and quite chunky, and there's a lot of seams and a lot of places where there's, you know, 4 or 5 layers of fabric there, and it can end up being quite bulky around this kind of back area, in these areas in particular. For me, I didn't really mind so much. It's not something that would be seen. I would normally wear this with like a uniform on top anyway, so I wasn't super fussed about, you know, how things were sitting around here. I mean, I knew that I would never see it, and probably neither would anybody else for that matter. It's just something to bear in mind if you are planning to make this pattern with a thicker fabric that you may not want to. But I think that is one of the downsides of elasticated waist and things like that, is that sometimes it adds bulk in places that you don't necessarily want it. So moving on to the next thing, this blouse was made using the Lola pattern from the latest issue of Fibre Mood, so the same one that the Mindy dress pattern came in. I actually made the top as a bit of an experiment and as a kind of a mock-up of what I wanted to do for another project, and I'm kind of glad I did. Again, another thing that's fine, much like with the Adrienne, actually I like the Adrienne more, so I made it actually fits pretty well straight out of the packet. I didn't do any adjustments to it. It was actually really fun to sew as well. I just actually don't really quite like it on me. And that's a personal preference, by the way. I just don't quite like my upper arms, and I feel like where the ruffle is and then it's just like popping out there, and I'm just, it's just me. It's nothing to do with the actual top or the pattern itself. So this was made using a cotton gauze from Minerva Crafts. I was really drawn to this really bright pop of colour with the flowers. I even managed to make it pretty kind of pattern match in terms of getting everything quite symmetrical on all the pieces. So this has got like a yoke on the top, the ruffle in here, and then the front is one piece with darts on the side, and then on the back it's got sides panels on the back and then a centre panel. This has elastic in this bit here, and that I think is to help keep that keyhole closed on the back while still offering a relatively loose fit, and then the top closes with a tie at the top. So all in all, it's a really cute top, and I have seen so many beautiful versions, much like the Adrian one, where I've seen people wear it and I'm just like, oh my god, I want it. And then this is an occasion where I make it and I realise that that probably wasn't quite for me. I did see someone make a version with a sleeve, so they did like a little sleeve hack, so it's so tempting to do that on here, because I think I would wear that more. But also I think it's the fact that when I have big ruffles, especially on my bust like this, I just look down and all I can see is like boob. And I don't quite like that all the time. So this one might get kind of gifted or put aside. I might like it more in future. I always hate to rush into giving things away super fast, because I always feel like if I look back on it in a few months' time, I might like it more, or you know, I might get really skinny arms, who knows? It's unlikely, by the way. But overall, it's a good pattern if this kind of style suits you. As is the case with all patterns and all clothes, right? Anyway, not for me. Love the idea, but not for me. My original plan was to make a dress version of this in this hot pink silk taffeta. If anyone has seen the dress that Gemma Chan wore to the Oscars a couple of years ago, I'll pop a picture here. That is what I was looking for to do. I wasn't looking to replicate it exactly, but have something in terms of a ruffle and a kind of like trapeze style dress with tiers or gathers or something. Yeah, I mean that's still in the works. I just need to decide on a different route. So this is the last bit of clothing that I'm going to show you today. This pair of dungarees is the Hayley dungarees from Hello Workshop. I made my original pair of these last summer, I think it was. Yeah, it must have been last summer. And when I made these really gorgeous lilac dungarees. Love them, I wear them all the time, but I really wanted to get a pair of kind of dark blue, almost like an original dungaree. I always really loved the Lucy and Yak ones. If you see them, they're like this ethical clothing company. They make really cool dungarees. As unethical as it is, I'd still rather make them. So I used them as inspiration to make this pair. So I used the Hayley dungarees as my base because I like the fit. I wanted something that was quite loose and really comfortable, and I knew that I could make it pretty quickly without too much effort. The changes that I made to it, so firstly I shortened it here, just a little bit, and I shortened it at the top bib as well and on the back bib, and on the back I've squared this out more as well. So the original pattern comes where the straps come from like a pointed V, upside down V at the top, and I wanted this to have a square back bib as well. So I added that in too. I've done the tie straps like I did before, so that's the same hack as I did previously with the little loops. Basically, I think it's a lot quicker than putting in buttons and buttonholes, and I like how it looks. Looks really cool. And I also added more pockets onto this one as well. So I did these pockets with these curved edges on them, and I did those on the front, back, and on the bib as well. So plenty of pockets all the way around. I randomly forgot to overlap the inside of one of those, so I'm going to have to go back and do that at some point before that completely unravels. Overall, these overalls worked out exactly as I thought they would. I didn't realise, but this whole outfit, and anytime I wear these dungarees with a white top, I look like Meryl Streep in Mamma Mia. Her dungarees look exactly like these. It's very funny. But yeah, these are, that classic dungarees. I'm hoping if I keep them in reasonably good condition, they will last me, forever. That is the goal with these right now. So there's just a couple more things that I wanted to share with you that I've made recently. The first thing is this bag. So this is yet another Fibre Mood project. I just got really wrapped up in their most recent magazine with all the projects that were in there, and because I had the time to sit there and I think go through it all and make plans and then enact those plans straight away. I seem to have made loads of Fibre Mood stuff recently. Yeah, they're not the only thing I make, by the way, guys. I do make other things. I just seem to make a lot of that at the moment. I promise it won't always be like that. Anyway, this clutch bag is a macrame project from the book. It's called the Lily Clutch. So I thought I'd try it, mostly because I had some macrame rope at mine anyway, because I was making these rope coil bags last year, and I had some left over, so I was like, oh, I'll try it out and see. The rope I had is actually a bit bigger than what was intended. I think it asked for 3mm cord, and I had, I think, 4 or 5mm cord, I can't remember which. Either way, what it meant is that as I was making it, it obviously was a lot bigger than intended, so you can see that it's a lot wider than the original. The original probably only came up to about here. It also meant that I made it a bit shorter, so instead of doing the full number of rows of the square knots down, I think I did like 4 rows less, so that this is like a longer rectangular version of the original. So it was really fun, really easy to make. I did it in maybe a couple of hours. I have macrame before, so I didn't need to learn how to do it, if that makes sense. I could just kind of follow the instructions reasonably quickly. It is an easy skill to pick up. It's kind of like making friendship bracelets and stuff that you would have done when you were at school and things like that. What I have done, so you can have a look here, see what it looks like. I've added on a strap, which is one that I used on my crocheted raffia bag from last year. It's just a detachable strap that I got from Wool and the Gang when I bought the yarn for my raffia bag. I also added on a little kind of button thing here. So this is what I call a Chinese knot. I just tied it on there, and I just literally use one of the holes in here and just to attach that food, because I like to be able to kind of keep it shut there. It's not kind of like super secure or anything, but it just helps to keep it closed. Now, the reason for its colour, I tried to do some avocado dyeing with this. It worked really well. I think I used three or four avocado stones. I've made it first and then popped it in the bath for like 4 or 5 hours on a low heat, like just simmering, and then I left it in there overnight. And when I took it out in the morning, it was this really lovely, beautiful pink colour. However, this stuff is crazy thick, and 2 days later, it still wasn't dry or even close to being dry. So I decided to leave it outside in the sun, which was a bad idea. I think if I'd left it in the shade, it would have been better. But I left it outside and then I forgot about it for a weekend. And when I came back, it had this, like, basically bleached out. The bit that was the most exposed to the sun. So the bit that is the most pink was on the underside, so the bit that wasn't directly facing the sun, and the underside here. And as you can see, it's this like really weird faded colour now. It's something that I guess I can always dye again. I just don't know if I want to. It makes a weird smell. I don't know if I want to go through all of that. I don't mind it, and I think that the two-tone kind of works. Yeah, so that was my first experiment with avocado dyeing. It was fun, it was interesting, and it was interesting to see it work and to see that pink come out, which was really cool. I'm not sure if it's for me. I'm so easily influenced by social media. I see people make beautiful things with these avocado dyed linens and things like that, and yeah, it just didn't quite work this time for me. So the other thing I wanted to share with you guys were the rings that I had carved. So I spoke about this last time because I had sent the rings off to be cast and they were still on their way back to me, and I got them back. Excuse me, so I got 2 made with the Workbench London, and I got 2 made with Cast Experience, I got 3 made, sorry, with Cast Experience. And I thought I'd just show you the differences and what I made with both. Weirdly, I can't find one. I'm that person, I'm not very good at keeping rings on my fingers. I'll put them on, I'll wear them for a while, I'll take them off to do something, and I will forget that I took it off to do something, so they end up everywhere. I will find it eventually, but for now, I'll show you the 4 that I can find. So these 2 were made with cast, and these 2 were made with the Workbench. So the Workbench ones were the 2 that I made first. I have to say, obviously, like, they're the first rings I've ever carved. They're not bad by any means, but I do think that if I had more practice, they would have come out nicer, if that makes sense. That being said, the girls work so hard to get these things like gleaming for you before they're sent back to you. Like, they polish them till within an inch of their lives, and they do have this beautiful shine on them that you can see. The other thing is that they the other thing that I really like with these is that the gold on them, the gold plate, is a really luscious, dark, kind of really yellowy tone to it, which I really like when I have my gold. The other 2, which are from Cast, which are these 2, and one more, which is my Art Deco style ring, which I cannot find for some reason. So my carving for these were better. I'd obviously had more experience with it by this point. My ideas were better, my abilities and carving abilities were better. So actually the rings I made with cast are more interesting, and I like their designs a lot more. However, I don't think that the final kind of finished product is as nice as the Workbench ones. Like, if I'd made the rings that I had carved and cast with Cast Experience and had sent those to the Workbench, I would have been way happier with the finished results. That being said, I think it did end up being cheaper going through Cast, but I don't know if it's kind of a cheaper and worth it, if that makes sense. Either way, I do really like all of the rings that I got cast. I do wear them, and I will probably lose them all at some point, but for the time being, really appreciate that I've learned a new skill and learnt to carve rings, and you know, if I ever need, you know, to make that kind of special jewellery and stuff like that, I know that I can, and that's a really nice feeling. So that's all I've got to show you guys today. Thank you so much for joining me. As always, I hope that wherever you guys are in the world, you are keeping safe and well, and may even be returning back to normal even just a little bit. But I hope to see you guys again on here soon. Bye now.